Okay. Thank you very much for joining us today and for your patience as we waited for a few more attendees to filter in the room there. So without further ado, we will go ahead and get started. This is the presentation on user-friendly audiovisual systems. This presentation will focus primarily around our presentation switcher KD Pro 4x1 and Pro 2x1. It's a very user-friendly and integrator-friendly product. We feel that you're going to really like what you see here, but we're also going to touch base on the user experience. That is very, very important, and the integrator experience, which is very, very important to us and very, very important to you as well. So we'll go over some technical things and also looking at some things from painting with a roller versus such a fine brush. And we'll be covering all of that in the presentation, but then we're also going to have a special Q&A session at the end of the presentation. So please do feel free to submit your questions at any time throughout the webinar today using the GoToMeeting question panel, or submitting it via Twitter at KeyDigital HQ as headquarters. Again, Twitter at KeyDigital HQ. Send those questions over and we will have those questions read to us from our marketing department, and we feel that it's going to be a good way to get started with things here. So thanks very much. We got a question came in already, and it looks like it's more or less, look at this. This is our colleague out in New Delhi, India. Hello, Abhinav. Nice to have you here today. Thanks very much. Now, he says, let's see here. Is everybody able to hear? Everybody able to hear the audio? Because it looks like we have somebody saying that they might be having a technical difficulty, but should be working now. If you could, please go ahead. Okay, we just had somebody else submit that the audio is good. So, check your speakers or whatnot, and we'll go ahead and begin the presentation. Thank you all very much again. Okay, good. Yeah, few people saying that the audio is good. Thank you all for helping out there. Certainly appreciated. So when we develop these systems for presentation spaces, or for any audiovisual system, of course, we start by analyzing or collecting and analyzing the needs of the client. When we talk about presentation spaces in conference rooms, classrooms, or other meeting spaces, we want to know what is the size of the room, of course. This is going to help determine if sound enforcement is needed, whether it be in-ceiling speakers to play the audio of what is showing on the screen, or if it is the need to integrate a microphone into the system. The size of the room is also going to determine what type of cabling, if everything is going to be more of a localized system. The traditional HDMI cables may be fine. We at KeyDigital make cables all the way up to 75 feet long currently. But sometimes if you have many long length runs in and out of the center of the system, the presentation switcher, you may use a Cat5 cable to do that. You can do so much over a single cat wire. Today we will be focusing on single screens, but of course KeyDigital also has many solutions available should you need to have many screens, multiple screens in a room, or distributing that signal throughout an entire building. We're a manufacturer of those parts. What is the content that they wish to show on the screen and play in the speakers perhaps, whether it be from laptops that are bring your own, or perhaps having AirPlay from iOS devices, local set-top box, that sort of content, maybe digital signage you'll see here. is a very real demand that we are confronted by, and we are meeting. And how did they wish to control the system? Certainly, depending on the size of the room, you're going to want to have something very convenient and user-friendly, of course. A question that has come up here that I'll go ahead and address now, although we will have a Q&A session at the end, is will this presentation be shared? And the answer to that is yes, we will be posting that on our YouTube channel. Thank you very much for asking. Our YouTube channel that we'll point you to here at the end. So we analyzed the needs, and these needs are actually quite similar. These questions are actually quite similar to what our system design group, SDG at KeyDigital.com, collects from you. Our system design group has determined that everything can pretty much be boiled down to 5 questions. Sources, aka the content from our previous slide. Displays, how many? Distances, or at least the maximum distance, so that we could spec the maximum product. Resolution desired, 1080p, 4K, for example, and control, whether it's just controlling our product or by another control system, or if it will be using our KeyDigital Compass control system, what else will need to be controlled. In those 5 questions, you could submit those answers over to our system design group, SDG at KeyDigital.com, for a free system design. Generally only takes 2 business days to get that turned around to you. There is a design questionnaire available, as you can see here, KeyDigital.com/SDG_questionnaire.pdf that you can grab that from as well. And that can be something that you could keep in your notebook for when you do your walkthroughs to collect the needs of your client. I'll give you an example of how that system design looks later in the presentation here from us. And we find that the KD Pro 4x1 and KD Pro 2x1, we've designed this to be a one-stop shop. It has all of the tools built in, from the HDCP 2.2 compliancy, ensuring that this is going to support your latest and greatest HDMI sources and displays built into the product. Having audio de-embedding on 2 analog types, balanced or unbalanced, 6-pin Phoenix terminal and 3.5mm stereo, and a digital audio on a PCM. The audio de-embedding feature is very, very useful for integrating with amplifiers and giving a plethora of control options as well to ensure that a user can, go up to the unit and press a button, or have it integrated with a professional control system and controllable by our app. So let's go into the most common integration tool. Again, just as a reminder to everybody, we've got questions coming in via Twitter and GoToMeeting. We certainly appreciate it. And if it's on your mind, it might be on other people's minds as well. So please do keep those questions coming. And we will have a Q&A session at the end of the presentation here. So very good. Now, let's begin by talking about one of the most convenient, user-friendly ways of controlling this presentation switcher. That is with our auto sensing. Auto sensing is activated by HPD, hot plug detection. HPD is very extremely important in the digital video world. Before any handshaking, EDID control, or any EDID handshaking can, or even HDCP authentication can take place, voltage is exchanged through the HDMI cable. And so when you connect a HDMI source to the unit, or if you have a conference table and you have an HDMI cable at the front and at the rear of the table, 2 cables coming through the table, you connect to your laptop, and that newly connected signal is detected by the new voltage, and the Pro 2x1, Pro 4x1 switcher will jump discretely into that input. So it is activated by hot plug of a newly connected signal, or if you disconnect that wire, you are also activating the auto sensing and it will switch to the next available input sequentially. So from 2 back to 1, or if it were the 4x1 switch, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, 4 back to 1, until it finds an active signal. This hot plug is activated by the switch on the face of the unit, so that could be set it and forget it, as they say. Or it is also activated through the software of the unit in the settings that are adjustable. So very, very convenient there. And as often requested, sometimes you want to just have a simple button to control this. So you could mount an easy button here, or mount a doorbell, if you will. And on the Phoenix terminal, the main unit control, we have trigger input and ground. So just 2 wires in is all it takes. And with those 2 wires, you can press a button to sequentially advance from your current position, 1, 2, 3, or 4, and do that with a real simple interface for your client. Again, just making things as end user friendly as possible. And I'm going to use this opportunity to elaborate on how these things have actually been used in the field. So we've not long ago wrapped up installation for a major manufacturer of automobiles. We all know their name. They're a Swedish manufacturer, and in Sweden they wanted to upgrade their conference rooms. They had over 60 rooms that were analog video, and they needed to go digital. And KeyDigital won that proposal, and how we won it is with the auto sensing. See, they needed to go digital, but in that opportunity they also decided they really didn't want to have a control system. I guess it was too complicated for the staff to keep up with, and so with our auto sensing feature, they have the HDMI cables at the table, and they just have a tag on the HDMI head which says when it's your turn, you plug in. And that is all of the training the employees need in order to use the system without having to bother the IT department or the AV IT department at the corporation to ask them how to work the conference room. So this is this in itself, these features there have won folks many proposals, and also enable a more cost-effective system by eliminating the need for external control system in many cases. Now here we do look at the audio de-embedding feature. So this is going to be really perfect for integrating right into your amplifiers. Now you should note that there is no volume control or equalization, bass, mid, high, and there's no format conversion. So if you want 2-channel audio out of your analog connector there, you need to ensure that your video source is outputting 2-channel audio, and that's not a problem at all when you utilize the EDID rotary that we have on the product. I mentioned earlier HPD, hot plug detection. It's voltage exchanged over a wire, the HDMI wire, informing that your source, for example, that there's a live partner on the other end of the cable, and then they begin the handshake process. Your monitor would tell your source device, hey, I'm 1080p capable and I support 2-channel audio, and the source should comply with that handshake and ensure that the it's not outputting a audio-visual signal that's not supported at the television. So it shouldn't output 4K with 5.1 because the TV can't do anything with it. Now, how do you make all of that happen when you have a monitor or a projector and you have 4 sources? Well, that's why we manage the EDID, Extended Display Identification data, the handshake. We allow the integrator to choose, as you see on this table here, the desired video audio format for the system. And so all of your connected sources, whether they are selected or not, are receiving the handshake at all times. So all 4 sources will think that they are connected to one-to-one to a monitor. That monitor happens to be called KeyDigital. So even if they're not the selected source, they will output their audio-visual signal and it just makes it that much faster with the switch time at the television, at the monitor. So we give you the EDID handshaking control, as you see on the table here, and then again, back to the HPD, hot plug detection. It is so crucial that this happens, that the connected source sees that through voltage that it has a live partner at the other end of the cable. Otherwise, it just won't output a signal. And so what forced hot plug, or so we at KeyDigital don't live in a one-to-one world as we see here, a laptop plugged directly into a projector. We don't live in that world. We have a switcher in the middle. We may have extenders. We may have matrix systems, distribution amps, AV receivers, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Some of those devices may end up not handling voltage the correct way. It might dip beneath the threshold of acceptance for the source, and so then the source doesn't see that it's connected to a partner, and because it's digital, not analog, it's more intelligent, than to just output the signal blindly. So we give you the ability to force hot plug detection voltage using the IR remote control or RS-232 TCP/IP diagnostics area. You can do this as well. It's very simple though, and now you could force voltage to the sources, ensuring that they're going to output the signal. So now we have some good questions coming in, and although I would love to answer them right now, we have a format today that we wanted to try out where we are going to save all of the questions for the very end. So please do ask your questions now, and then we will be answering those at the end of the class. So greatly appreciated, and please do not be shy. If you have a question, somebody else may have the same question as well, and we want to make sure we address all of those. So we will answer those. So that's another great integration and troubleshooting tool built into this product that's going to make it really, really well fit for, well, a really pleasurable experience for you installers. So the other thing about the KD Pro 2x1, Pro 4x1 that just makes this really an awesome choice for end users is that it is KeyDigital app ready. So if you don't know about the KeyDigital app yet, it is an iOS app for Apple devices only at this time, where the KeyDigital app will get on the network and it'll scan the network and find any KeyDigital devices that are there, and it gives you a pre-built GUI for controlling the device. So we see here the 4x1 has the 4 buttons, and you can actually even assign friendly names to each of your sources and your display. For example, we show here DirecTV, cable, Apple TV, Chromecast, and the television name Patio. So you can actually assign that, and that gets written to the switcher. So if any new any of these installations, you could have new users come in, use the KeyDigital app, and those names will load in automatically. They'll be parsed from the unit as opposed to, you know, set in the app where then they would have to do it user by user. You only have to set it once. So this is currently free from the iOS App Store. Just search KeyDigital and you'll find it. And the app, you installers would be happy to know, does have an MSRP though. Even though the app is free, there is an MSRP which allows you to ensure that you're billing properly for any configuration time, getting the device on the network, or setting these names. So here is a look at our command prompt interface, where we could see not only what commands we have available to it with our help menu, but I also wanted to highlight this, the status menu. And just by typing in the letters STA, like the first 3 letters of the word status, you can see if your forced hot plug is on. You could see the network settings. But then more importantly, you could see connectivity status. Your inputs 1, 2, 3, and 4, if they have link, which is an active voltage and signal. Video output, if it is on or off, so your connected display, so essentially, you know, your TV is on, but you have a failed link. Well, it's got to be the signal's not coming back to the source or to the switcher. So what could you do? You could force hot plug, and we could say, well, it might be voltage related, so let's just force the voltage so that the source is outputting, or the switcher is outputting anyhow. Or you could look at your wiring, you could look at your extenders. You may have a connectivity problem in between the switcher and the monitor. So this is very, very valuable information, and this professional diagnostics tool is built in not only to the professional switchers 2x1, 4x1, but even to our most cost-effective extenders currently, the X222. All of them can give you this interface as well, so you could really, if you encounter a problem, you have the tools to find out what it is and the tools to fix it. Very good. So that would bring us to designing these systems. Now that you know more about the product, how do these fit in? You've collected the needs of your client and what they would like to do. Why are they investing the money in these products? And you know that this is the product for you based on the features. So let's look at how the product is designed into some systems. So we could look at a very simple system here. This is kind of typical of a huddle space. Huddle space is kind of a new phenomenon in corporate and any kind of collaborative job sites where you have the ability, you're setting up a space where employees and colleagues can get together, share their ideas without having to book a conference room. Typically it's like an open air kind of place, maybe with some amenities nearby like a coffee pot or something, and so it just helps people kind of break up the you know, the daily grind and have kind of a new fresh way of doing this, these huddle spaces. So it's a pretty cool trend that's happening right now. It's real simple. You have a monitor and you have the ability to plug into that monitor. Of course, if you're going to have a really nice, clean, professional installation, then you want to have a switcher. We see a lot of times that these monitors are used for digital signage, like we see here in the server, as one of the inputs. And in this case, all you have to do is come and plug in your laptop. You would utilize the auto switching, the auto sensing mode to switch right into that laptop that's plugged in, and you could have a presentation. You unplug the cable like we discussed earlier, and it'll switch back to your digital signage from that server. So it's really brilliant use of the technology to not only have the ability to present, but also to broadcast corporate messages, if you will, by having a server, a digital signage player as one of the sources. And that maximizes the investment for the client. And of course, in some of these applications, a real modern workspace, you might want to have something a little more elegant than just relying on the cables. And so you could mount an iPad in the wall using partner products from companies like iRoom and iPort. There's many options out there. Those are just some of the leaders that we work with. And you could have that there, and you could use the KeyDigital app. Again, free app from the App Store that will find the 2x1 switch or 4x1 switch and give you that pre-built GUI. All you would need is a simple Wi-Fi router to make that work. From a simple huddle space, we step up to something a little more advanced, where we use our 4x1 switch and we take the audio de-embed and we feed the amplifier KD-Amp 220. This is a new product from us, the amplifier, that we'll get into in more detail later on in the presentation. But we've also added a full professional control system using KeyDigital's Compass control in this design. So what does that afford you? You're able to not only switch to switcher, but also turn on and off the television, control the amplifier volume level and muting controls, control video sources if you had anything controllable there via infrared, IR, RS-232, or TCP/IP. You can control that as well. So it's not just the switcher as the KeyDigital app gives us, but all of the peripheral components as well, controllable through a professional control system like Compass Control here. And we can continue to add to the system, making it more and more advanced, or more and more advanced what it's doing, but of course the end user interface being very user-friendly, very simple. When we use our Compass Control system, you have the ability to make a full custom GUI with just, 4 simple buttons and a slider if you want. Here we look at the addition of speech, having a microphone plugged into the KD-AMP220. It has a microphone input, and it could power phantom power microphones if needed. Adding a wall plate input so that they could plug in at the wall using KeyDigital's HD-Base-T extender with a wall plate transmitter we'll show you in more detail. And adding lighting control from KeyDigital Compass Alliance partners such as Leviton, Lutron, and more, you're able to build a really superior environment for the system, and not to mention controlling the projector on and off and the screen through voltage and relay control. And so these are some very typical designs that we come across here in our system design group. Excuse me. So here is a closer look at the AMP220. As I mentioned, you have microphone input with the ability to turn on phantom power, 48 volt phantom power. So it basically is going to allow you to replace the need to have a mixer in these applications. It's a very small profile, so it's also good for applications where you might use it for sound bars. And it's going to allow you, you might not use this in a huddle space where perhaps you don't want something to be so loud that, that it interferes with the other workers around you. However, for a conference room, small or large, this is an ideal fit. So there you are. KD-AMP220 has a few different options for your output as well, stereo, mono, bridging output, and it even has a balanced output to feed to another, to cascade these units or to feed to another audio system. We have received a few more questions. I'll just take a quick moment to remind everybody about our Q&A session we'll have coming up here in a few minutes. So thank you very much for submitting your questions, and we will answer them all at the end here. Very good. So this is the wall plate that I mentioned previously, X422WP. It is an HD-Base-T extender and with a wall plate transmitter. Now what's really great about this product is that the power over HD-Base-T is flexible, meaning you could plug in a power supply on either side. It might be difficult for you to have power at the wall plate, so you can power the receive side instead, or if you do need to power at the wall plate, you can do so. The power supply cable that we include in the box is actually 25 feet long, and it's a thicker gauge wire. We made it 25 feet long, that power supply lead, so that you could go up the wall and over if you need to get your power supply connected in at the like behind the television if need be. So this is a really awesome product for your applications where they need a plug-in as a presenter, or you can mount this in a table box or floor box as well. And we also have a converter, VGA to HDMI converter, the VCS 500, where you can take legacy devices and integrate them into your digital system at a really reasonable price point. Lastly, control system. Now this is a whole other presentation, or in fact we have trainings that go up to 4 days long, but What's nice is we have two different sizes of master controllers. The MC1000 is a proper master controller. CX800 is a 3-port master controller. And this is something that is keeps costs very reasonable when you have more and more devices that are controlled via the network, IP control. Because Compass Control uses the iOS or Android device as the brain, any network control just goes directly from the iOS device and therefore does not use any ports on the master controller here. And so this is what the hardware looks like. The programming is done on a PC computer, and we have drag and drop programming or full custom programming, so it could look and feel however you'd like it to, and really match your client's identity. We have a nationwide network of programmers, or international network of programmers, I should say, that you could view on our website as well. Very, very good. So now is the Q&A session. We have a number of good questions that have come in, and we're going to take a quick 60-second break just to allow a few more questions to come in. Again, submit them over here in the GoToMeeting panel, or using Twitter at KeyDigital HQ, as in headquarters, at KeyDigital HQ. I'll be back with you in 60 seconds. Okay, thanks very much for submitting your questions. We'll go ahead and read them out now, one at a time, so you can continue to submit them. If it's on your brain, it might be on someone else's brain as well, so don't be shy. We'll start with a question from Kashal. Kashal, thanks for submitting this question. The question is, will you be sharing this presentation? And the answer is yes. I'll show you where we will submit this, actually. And we come right across here at the top. We have YouTube. We click that. And in here, KeyDigital, the experts in digital audio, visual, and control systems. There you go. So you could actually see here, if we just jump straight to videos, we have a number of webinars in here. And we even have a playlist of webinars, webinar series. There you go. So here's 33 webinars here. And so this is what we do for posting. And we'll also ensure that you receive these webinars, or the indication that webinars are posted, and we're going to share these with you through social networking as well. So, so this is the place to go, to the webinars playlist, and on our YouTube channel. If I just step back here again, it was the KeyDigital channel, youtube.com/Masha KDS. Masha, M-A-S-H-A, Mike Alpha Sierra Hotel Alpha. Plenty of good resources in there, including our unpacking series and some case studies, video case studies as well. So thank you very much for that question. Okay, so we have another question from Mudit. Mudit, thank you very much for submitting this question. And by the way, if I am pronouncing anybody's name wrong, I do apologize, but certainly appreciate it. So the question is, for the Pro 2x1, Pro 4x1 switcher, we mentioned that it is 4K ready. Does that include the support of 444 color depth? And yes, the answer is yes to that. KD Pro 4x1 is actually a full 18 gigabit per second signal. or supports full 18 gigabits per second. So if I come to the bottom right of our website where our search panel is and head over here to the product page, we do see here 18 gigabits per second. And so now how 18 gigabits per second works though, you see we have here 444 support at 30 and 6444. However, it may be something that you don't know that when we look at deep color here, and I will zoom in on this to make sure everybody can see this a little more easily. Deep color is in color depth is kind of an interesting subject. Like 444 is capable at 30 frames. However, at 50, 60 frames, there's really no content that's greater than 420. So you got or with 12-bit color, I should say. So how it works is you have 444. You have 30 frames, 24, 25, 30 frames. 444, and there's also 422, and we have 12-bit deep color supported there, which means you got HDR10 supported. You have 50 and 60 frames that is 422, 420. If you use a data calculator, you'll see that if you were to try to do 444, it actually would exceed 18 gigabits per second. 4K 50, 60 frames 444. In order to do 444, you have 8-bit maximum. So there's really no HDR there. So it's kind of an interesting thing. There are some data calculators out there. I mean, I'll go ahead and say one of them is out there from a company called Extron, which is certainly a product that you guys are probably familiar with, and would even have some overlapping products with KeyDigital, but I think there's different times that the products are used. So anyways, data calculator can get you those answers, but yes, we do support 444 color depth. Great question. Thank you for that. Mario has submitted a question. Kind of a general question about switching. What is the average delay on a display when switching inputs with the Pro 2x1, Pro 4x1? Now, these products are, they're not seamless switchers. So there is going to be some sync time. But what happens is, and I think this is when Mario posed the question, we're providing, excuse me, we're providing the handshake EDID, HDCP to the source at all times, even if it is not currently being viewed. The source is outputting a signal at all times. And then when we switch from source 1, 2, 3, 4, the television itself is the only factor in how long it takes for that synchronization to complete and get your picture up on the screen. A lot of the displays will go about 2 to 3 seconds, which is relatively quick because of our full buffer handling. It's as quick as could be. However, I've now begun seeing a lot more displays. Sony XBR, for example, recent model I saw and worked with, that the switch time is essentially a blink of an eye. You do see the break, but it comes, you get your picture back up and running with less than 1 second. So that is really dependent on the television with this product. Certainly, like I mentioned, Sony XBR, they've done a good job in making that quick. Now another option though is to use a seamless switcher. Sometimes projectors, for example, aren't so quick. So using a seamless switcher. What is a seamless switcher? Well, at KeyDigital, we make a seamless switcher. Our multi-viewer, KD-MLV 4x2 Pro here, see, is a seamless presentation switcher. So as you go from source 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, there's no break whatsoever. And we're able to accomplish that by having a video processor built in to the product. So it is more expensive to have that processor inside, but that's the benefit that you're afforded. So there you go. 2 to 3 seconds average max. Some are faster, it depends on the TV. And if you need it to go faster because you're going to a projector or whatnot, you use our multi-viewer MLV 4x2 Pro. Great question. Thank you, Mario. So another question from Mudit is, do we recommend to use unshielded or shielded cable for our HD-based T extenders? So it's a very good question. We support both unshielded and shielded cable. I'm going to take a look at the X422WP product page here, for example. And we support either. However, if you're installing in a commercial environment, you know, shielded cabling is probably the way to go, especially a shielded Cat6 or shielded Cat6A augmented type cable. The reason I say that is because shielding just helps to prevent interference from coming into the cable. And interference in the digital world, you may not notice it until it's so bad that it just will cause the signal to drop. You know, if you're running near an elevator and they call the elevator and then all of a sudden you have no picture on your screen. You've heard of that before, and it's hard because there's just nothing you can do, because what's happening is electrical interference is so severe that it's totally corrupting the signal. The signal's not coming through anymore. So using shielded twisted pair cable will help you avoid or prevent that. And we even have our own shielded Cat that is features individually shielded pairs inside. So you have an outer shield and inner shield, and that is going to be a real plus if you have a noisy installation environment. Thanks very much for asking that question. We have another question. Is the AMP 220, KD AMP 220, if you recall, KeyDigital's amplifier here, is it a Class D amplifier? And the answer to that is yes, it absolutely is a Class D amplifier. Here you are, 20 watts per channel at 4 ohm or 40 watts, 8 ohms when bridged. Class D amplifier makes it, it's digital, it's very compact, very nice product to work with there. Very good, thanks for asking that question. Can we also have relay controls to control high voltage projector? Yeah, great question. So we're just going through the whole KeyDigital ecosystem here, and I do appreciate that. If we look at the MC1000, this product has a built-in 3-port relay that has normally open, normally closed, and the common. So that's very nice. We also have an external 2-port relay that is part of the Compass Control ecosystem. CCXR200 integrates with one of the master controller's 3.5 millimeter ports. So we just wrapped up a project yesterday, a corporate installation, where they used 2 of these relays to build a 3-port relay. I'm not sure exactly where, oh yes, they were not using the MC1000, they were using one of our HD-based T matrix switchers with the master controller built in, so they needed to use this to build a 3-port relay. Very good questions, thank you very much. We have a question from John here, who is asking, where is the best place to begin learning more about KeyDigital's products? John, thank you very much for asking. I would definitely start you with the YouTube page for sure, but really, if you'd like to begin getting certified in KeyDigital, then you go to KeyDigital.com and you go to this login in the top right. And once you log in, or once you go here, you will click here to sign up to create your own dealer profile. So again, KeyDigital.com, log in, and you have, you'll create this profile. You'll get approval from our sales team within 24 hours. And once you have a profile, then you could enter our Compass Control training. And we will also have an updated hardware training, much like what you saw today, posted on here as well. So you could become a C1, C1 plus, C2, or C3 programming professional through these online courses. The online training course for video hardware is the Audiovisual Integration Professional course. We'll have multiple levels as well. And it would be negligent for me to not plug here, throw a quick plug to our online training, or excuse me, our in-person training that is happening at our headquarters in Mount Vernon, New York next month in mid-January. It is a 4-day course with day 1 covering compass control and video hardware, and then the remaining days digging deeper and deeper and deeper into compass control, from drag and drop to custom, covering it all. So you'll leave here getting the full exposure to our ecosystem. And you can find this information under the technical part of our website and going to trainings. Thanks for that question, John. We have another question. About if KeyDigital ecosystem has a button control panel, like a wall keypad. We don't currently have that, but we will be. We are in development on a product like that, so stay tuned for that. And perhaps a keypad you've already used is able to be integrated, has an API that we can use as well through our compass control. That's another way we can consider integrating that, but currently we don't have a keypad. We have another very good question from Niraj. Niraj, thank you very much for this question. Asking about the difference between the Pro 2x1 and the S 2x1. Now, S 2x1 is, you know, the Pro 2x1 is more of a professional product for these conferencing applications, presentation applications. However, we also have another switcher, S 2x1. It's a simplistic product that is very, very small. It's about the size of an iPhone 6 and very thin. So Niraj's question is it true that the major difference is the audio de-embedding and the app readiness? Or are there other features that may lend more towards a huddle room? Perhaps he's considering using S 2x1 for a huddle room. And the answer is yes, you're absolutely right, Niraj. We look here at the S 2x1. Both products are full 18G. You only have the ability to push the button to control with S 2x1 and to use IR as well. So control is a big factor. If the client is okay to pick up the remote control or to press the buttons on the front, then the S 2x1 is a more cost-effective option. The app readiness is a very nice feature with the Pro 2x1, Pro 4x1. And so yeah, it can really be something that is, you know, if there's a budgetary concern or a space factor concern, the S 2x1 could be good. At KeyDigital, we have these two flavors of product and one has more connectivity, more features, but the thing we never sacrifice is what makes KeyDigital work. Our EDID control handling and our full buffer system, as you can see here, is also in the S 2x1. So it'd just be insane of us to release a product that doesn't have that. So you'll not be sacrificing reliability. Very good question. Mr. Dwayne Rains, thank you very much for your question. Is the audio amp coming in a 70-volt version? At this moment, we do not have a 70-volt version. At time of R&D for the amplifier, we had just these applications in mind, this conference room, and we wanted to make something that really would be a good fit for that. But we, of course, have had a few options, or a few prototypes, I should say, so that we can determine all of our options. So perhaps we'll go down that path in the future. Abdelaziz has asked, does Compass Control operate KNX? And yeah, actually we do support KNX. And I'm glad you asked that, because we've invested a lot of time into integrating KNX. And what happens with our KNX integration is it's actually very, very good. So we have KNX here, but there's no video. I'm not sure why that is. But all you program your KNX system first, and then we import a report that comes from KNX. I forget what that report is called. And we automatically collect bidirectional information, automatically populate the appropriate graphics for the I think we support like 12 or 16 different device types, like dimmers, shade control, just simple on and off control. So we give you pre-populated graphics complete with bidirectional feedback, automatic with the KNX. So it's actually a very nice integration there. And if you'd like to see all of the products that we have two-way drivers for, you go to Compass Control Professional across the top, and you see our listing and our downloads. Downloads is if you're going to be a programmer, whereas listing just shows you what models and manufacturers. Okay, wow, great questions. Thank you so much for submitting those. We really appreciate it. If something happens to pop up later in the day, you just send those questions over to tech@keydigital.com, and if it's technical, they'll answer that. Or if it's more training related, we'll get involved here on the training side as well. So yeah, keep your eyes open for the posting of this video on our YouTube channel, and we'll share that information with you in the future when it is posted. And don't forget about our system design group. You could submit your questions to sdg@keydigital.com, where we give you a really nice, simplistic, very user-friendly, in fact, design. So it really is a very useful tool for your presentations or your meetings with your clients, to help show them how all this video stuff works, how it's all connected, perhaps justify some of the price point for some of this stuff. Page 1 is a diagram of the system. Page 2 is models and quantities. So if all goes well, you get to just hand this over to your KeyDigital sales rep and place the purchase order, and really get a factory stamp of approval for functionality and operability. And if you need to contact us, please feel free to do so. Here in the US office, we're open 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. And I know that in New Delhi, India, our team is working around the clock for you. They're even on this webinar here today. So please do feel free to reach out to them. And we'd like to leave you with just a final note while designing your next audiovisual product, or project rather. Remember, there's always somebody who will do it cheaper, but KeyDigital, we're not even going to be the most expensive, but you know that built into that is a full team of engineers, all under one roof, working with the system design, tech support, operations, etc. So it's really a powerful hardware-software package that you really can't get from anyone else in the industry. With that said, we really appreciate you being here today. We hope you have a great rest of your day or evening, depending on where you are across the world here. Thanks for joining us today.